Lightspeed web filtering solution.
Yes, sir. Purchasing web filtering is a necessity in schools for student safety, CIP compliance, and AUP adherence, along with network security. As we move to focus more on enablement and safety for teachers and students in the classroom through the use of technology tools, we are committed to finding tools to help enhance the educational experience while providing a safe environment at the same time. For those of you who are not aware, a web filter is a piece of software designed to restrict what websites a user can visit on his or her computer. Our current web filter does not provide the versatility nor the safety components needed for the 21st century student and teacher. In the past, teachers had to ask the IT department to unblock websites for them, causing a huge delay in instruction time. With this new solution, teachers will have the ability to unblock most sites, and that's most sites, as there are a few that they will never have access to. They will also have the ability to control which sites students can visit during their class period. We were not only looking for a good web filter, but we were also looking to increase safety of our students and teachers by finding a solution that included intelligent reporting on suspicious and or irregular activities. Working with our Safe Schools Department, we found a solution that will provide weekly reporting to principals along with our Safety Department on suspicious searches conducted by students and staff, such as explosives, firearms, and suicide, to name a few. This type of reporting allows us to do a lot more proactive, to be a lot more proactive as issues start to arise. I would like Dr. Tinsley to expound on that a little bit further for you.
Thank you. In student support, we work to assist students socially, emotionally, academically in both proactive and reactive ways. The addition of Lightspeed web filtering software and the detailed reporting capabilities will help us to target students that may need our intervention and support to deter involvement in possible destructive behaviors. Today's students are technologically savvy. The detailed reports provided by the software will allow district officials to identify common websites that students across the district may try to access, identifying interest or involvement in potentially harmful behaviors that could impact student development. The filtering capability will also allow us to look at many demographic indicators that can be used to target our prevention efforts in support of all students. We are excited about the ways that this software will enhance the support that we are providing to students, administrators, and parents throughout the district. Mr. Brantley.
So it is with that that I'm requesting that the Board of Education approve the purchase of the Lightspeed content filter from Trebon Company, Inc. through the state purchasing vehicle PEPPM Q17128 at a cost not to exceed $208,333.33.
Is there any discussion? Dr. Irwin?
Thank you. How you doing, Mr. Brantley?
Good.
I have one question. Is how often or what would be the ease of updating that filter list? And I bring this because of what's going on in the media as far as the guy that had the baby in the back seat, but he was looking on the internet about how long it takes to suffocate a baby. So how quickly do you update that list, and how quickly would that have been pinpointed if something like that were to occur?
Well, the good part about it is, as I said in the presentation, although the requests could come out weekly, they could actually come out daily, and it's something that's reported to us immediately. And so rather than inundate the principal with constant reports on a daily basis, if something came to our attention, we would absolutely push that out further. But, to answer your second question, we really are absolutely going to block everything, which makes it easy for us because now it enables the teacher to unblock what he or she needs in order to teach. So we will block every site possible and give them the ability to unblock what they need during the instructional day.
That's a good strategy, I think. Mr. Coleman?
Just a quick question. You had, it seems like this is primarily for the for filtering for students, and I noticed even the contracted amount was for roughly the number of students that we have in DeKalb. It sounded like you also referenced that this would be the filtering solution used for the broader employee base as well. Could you just talk to understanding that teachers can unblock certain sites, kind of whether this applies to all 115,000 or so folks that the system serves, and if so, in what ways those groups are differentiated, and for our employees, classroom and non-classroom, you know, what is the filtering policy, how closely do we monitor that, et cetera?
Well, with this software, currently right now, the plan is actually to block it for everyone, because everyone will have access to unblock. Basically, the way it works is that being an employee in the district, and let's just give an example in the central office, your credentials to log in or into your computer are your credentials to bypass the filter. And so you'll have up to a 4-hour period to bypass that filter. Once that 4 hours ends, it closes off. And so that's to answer your question for blocking. It's not just for the schoolhouse, it's also for the entire district. If you could repeat your second question.
I guess it's okay. That's a good clarification. What do we still monitor? This is kind of to Dr. Irwin's point. For employees or personnel around the system, do we still provide some monitoring and filtering, despite them being able to bypass the filter with their credentials of search results, et cetera, so that we can monitor any threats or any issues that come up there, in addition to what we're doing with the students? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, and actually this applies to staff as well. And you know, one of the things that will be, you know, I don't want to slip by is that just because you bypass it doesn't mean we're not alerted when you bypass it to an inappropriate site. And so, you know, it's really putting that trust back into the students, the teachers, and employees, rather than restricting everything. But if they do bypass to a site that they should not have had access to, it immediately sends us an alert. So we're more eyes now, eyes and ears per se, but we're giving that flexibility back to the staff.
Mr. Mayfield?
Right. And I guess my questions kind of go to the presentation from Dr. Tinsley. When we make these assessments, I guess my first question is whether or not this is something that's done in relationship with law enforcement agencies, as an example. And I guess I'm also thinking about, you know, what the standards are for making an assessment as to whether or not an attempt to pursue, to get access to a website that was ultimately blocked constitutes a safety threat versus violation of privacy.
I think that's a great question. My understanding is that the filters will have trigger words, so I'm just going to give you some examples. You know, I'm sure you've heard in the media about certain things like the hanging game, different ways that, you know, just nationally students are going about doing some things that may be harmful to themselves and others. So my understanding of the web filtering is it would give us triggers that, hey, you've got students that are trying to go into these sites that would help us to identify clusters and maybe help us to target our efforts to those students more appropriately. You know, of course, as Mr. Brantley mentioned, you would have the login information so we know actually who's trying to do it. So I think it's a thin line that you're talking about, the law enforcement piece of it. And of course, from Safe Schools and our public safety department being involved, they would kind of navigate that part. But from our end, we just want to be proactive and be able to assist in any way possible. And I think it's a great litmus test for us to help us know exactly, you know, some of the things that our students are doing and thinking about that we may not be aware of.
No. Dr. Irwin?
Just one other question. Will that same filter work on personal devices used in the school?
Yes, so once you hit our network,
Then it's,
then you're a part of it.
Thank you very much. Mr. McMahon, you have a question?
Yeah, this is heading right down the rabbit hole. So will you be able to identify a student's device when they get when access, and the teacher, and I hear it, I heard it at the end of the year when we shut down for CRCTs, that a lot of the students who used to have access didn't, which is the right thing. So once they do have the access, let's say they go off the grid, we have an accountability measure in place to identify the device that actually accessed it, and it's recorded within the system, and there's accountability measures in place.
Yes, sir, and that's a good question. A big surprise is coming, and it's actually awaiting our students when they return from break. And part of that surprise is that all devices, we added a layer of security onto our network, and all devices will have to be registered. Even if you're a guest or a parent, if you decide to get on the network, and by registering that device, it allows us to receive that information on you. And so that is going to, dramatically and help us along the way. So to answer your question. Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much. Is there any opposition to placing this item